Today, I'm gonna have a chat with Andrew Holland, the author of The Value of SEO. He's also an amazing LinkedIn content creator. We're gonna talk about the role of SEO for brands and SEO from a business perspective. Enjoy. I'm super happy to have you here, Andrew. So thanks that you're taking the time to talk to me, to us, about the value of SEO and a lot of other stuff. I hope most people already know you because you're my absolutely favorite LinkedIn content, SEO content creator, and your book is amazing. So I will promote that at the end too. So The Value of SEO. But for all the people that don't know what you're all about, first of all, how did you get into SEO and content marketing? Because it's a weird place to get into.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. And I'm in a very pink room, and my face is a little red, but I assure you I'm going red with such an amazing introduction. So thank you very much. Yeah, I have a really unusual background, and the unusual background is I first learned SEO in the police. I can't go into mega detail with it, but ultimately I used to work in intelligence, and we had our own search engine, and that's pretty much my role was really to create intelligence through various ways.
I understood that correctly, right? So police.
Yeah, police. Yeah,
how cool is that? Okay.
So I mean, I can't go into mega detail about it, but ultimately I was involved in police intelligence. We had our own intelligence search engine, and I was part of the team that used to put intelligence, a very specific kind, onto that onto that search engine. We had to do internal links and promote content, just like you would do in marketing. And then I kind of left that department to go on the promotional bandwagon, and not knowing, because I didn't know we were doing SEO, but needless to say, I ended up getting involved in doing my own websites and websites for other people. And I was just drawn to it magnetically, if you want, and started having success, started seeing results. And then what ended up then was I got really bad asthma. So with the police, you could stay in an office, but they wouldn't promote me, and I was qualified to be promoted, and they said you couldn't go outside on the streets anymore because my asthma was really severe. So in the end, I took early retirement and then started freelancing, and that's how I got into SEO as a career, so to speak. I was doing social media videos first. I was doing viral videos and growing social media pages, and then ended up getting some SEO clients, and that just went on and on until I got my own consultancy, stroke boutique agency. I always think it's boutique agency, and it's just you and a couple of the staff. And then we had loads of great clients. It was very much a lifestyle business, really successful. We got through COVID and barely, but we survived. Post-COVID, I was busier than ever. And then, to be honest with you, I kind of got a bit fatigued. So I was offered an in-house role and decided to took my staff and my clients in-house. I was there for about a year. I had a team of 15 or so, 100 odd clients, something like that. And then an opportunity arose to work here, where I'm at now, which is JBH, which is a European Search Award-winning digital PR agency. And I'm responsible. I'm their director of SEO, and I'm building out their SEO processes, their team, their departments from scratch. So it's
nice.
Pretty excited because they're so good at link building, and the SEO is the addition. And I always describe digital PR as like fuel for an SEO campaign, and the SEO is like the pilot. So that's my analogy. Is the SEOs do the direction and navigation, but the actual digital PR is the fuel.
Yeah.
So it's a good 1-2 combination.
Yeah. I also like to say, if clients ask about authority, why it's important, I will always have this sword analogy where relevance is how sharp the knife is, and how hard you hit is links and digital PR, because it's really nice to understand, because sharpness and relevance, that's easy to understand compared to content and links. What the hell is that?
I like that. I'm going to steal that and pretend it was mine.
I always steal from you, so that's fair enough. So I have to tell this to people. So there are 2 books that you have to like read, which is like mandatory to start at Evergreen Media, and that's first Product-Led SEO from Eli, and then it's also same importance, the value of SEO, because it's so important to be able to articulate to different levels in a company what SEO is about, why it's important, and why it is important to that specific person and to that specific business. And I've never heard the stuff you explain so eloquently. I've never ever read anything, heard anybody talk about SEO the way you do. You're really good at like building concepts and then obviously sharing them on LinkedIn in a very successful manner. But I love that. So I love the way your brain works. And the only reason I'm a little nervous in this is because I really want to like pull out all the really cool knowledge you have in this short talk. And yeah, I'm super excited to have you here. So you already like took one of my questions, of my next questions, but what do you like most in your work? And it doesn't have to be like especially now the work you do now, but what do you like about like the SEO work, and what gets you into a flow state?
Okay, I mean there's 2 additions to that, and then, by the way, Eli Schwartz's book is better than mine. I highly recommend it. It is also, I think, mandatory reading for an SEO, and I think if SEOs haven't read Eli's book, I think that's probably, in my opinion, they're at significant disadvantage in the future.
He's
of
the
SEO.
next on the show, by the way.
Yeah, cool. Tell him. I don't know him, but he sometimes comments on some posts, and I comment on his. So I think he's. I love the way he talks about SEO in a very different way, but I love it. For me, flow state is very much a case of you have to have. We're like computers. Brains are like computers, aren't they? And if you put rubbish in, you get rubbish out.
Yeah.
So for me to achieve a flow state, I have to constantly read. I'm constantly learning and reading. I'm late into marketing at 36. I started my career. It is late, so I think I have catching up to do. My brain is obviously not as pliable as it once was, but I'm a big believer in neural elasticity, I think it's called. So I think my job is to feed my brain with as much valuable information as possible, and then the output of what people get from my work is my flow state, in terms of the more diverse materials I read, the more connections that I can make in between SEO. And I'm very interested in biomimicry. I'm very interested in marketing science. I'm very interested in behavioral economics, behavioral science. I love reading about the old copywriting and things like that. And so, but ultimately for me, what the SEO game is actually a game of trying to help businesses to stand out and be valuable.
Yeah.
And that allows them to access a bigger market share. And so for me, what SEO is really about, I achieve my flow state because I desperately want to help customers and consumers, and to consumers to find and access better businesses, for businesses to access more customers and to reach bigger market share. And that's kind of what I'm here with SEO. Eventually, one day I might not be doing SEO and I'll move center into a chief marketing officer type of role. But for now, my goal is to get as much information into my brain as possible, to then make connections regarding the SEO market and the SEO as a channel, and then to put those ideas out both as free for things like this podcast and my LinkedIn and blogging and articles I write, but also to help clients to achieve greater success in their business. And that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
I like the way, I really like the word helpful. So the first time I heard like people like talking about brands in that way was with Andy Crestodina in his book, Content Marketing Chemistry. I really liked his quote, the most helpful brand wins. And that's really what we're also about, and what I really like to like transition into the main course of this is the way you see SEO not like SEO is often seen very tactical and very explained very tactical, and that's why often people have like a complete. So today I had like I spoke to a client. They're doing 3 billion in revenue, and
Wow.
the CMO was talking about, yeah, and so what can we do? Can we put more keywords on the website? And that's the level they were at, which is super insanely shocking in my opinion. So what I want to start with is like how to think about SEO, and that's really what your book teaches people: how to see SEO as a concept, how to use it for different business models, and how it can support company goals. Because oftentimes when people come to us, they are like, "Hey, we want to do SEO," and then I will be like, "Why do you want to do SEO?" And how would you like explain the value, like short, to a CMO? What's the value of doing SEO for a brand?
I mean, it's simple. I mean, let's keep it on brand because there's lots. SEO is a very complicated subject.
Yeah.
So, I think SEO is the activity. Organic search is the channel, and I think that's the thing we need to say is
Yeah.
that organic search is a channel.
Yeah.
Like TV advertising is a marketing channel. Radio advertising is a marketing channel. Organic search is one ginormous channel. Let's face it, we know the data. There's billions of searches done. What is it, every minute or something like that on Google? You know, we know that people use the internet to make decisions, to find entertainment, to find solutions, to ask advice. Organic search is going nowhere. It's getting bigger. More people are using the internet. We're seeing older generations activate the internet. And also, what you're having is my generation's getting older and we're using the internet more. And you know, the generation that grew up with it. And then you got my kids who are like 10 who just live on the internet. You know, that's their go-to for everything, communicating with friends, the work. So organic search is incredibly powerful as a channel. Now, SEO, unfortunately, is a really poor name for what we
Horrible
do.
name.
It's horrible because it's kind of antiquated, outdated. But at the end of the day, it's the name that everybody uses,
Yeah.
and so we're kind of stuck with it as a
Yeah.
label. But our job as SEOs, in my opinion, is to help brands to grow through organic search. And that's really a very broad term, but that's what we're trying to do. We're going to help brands to grow through organic search. Now, depending on how that growth looks, is also how what the SEO is and does. And the problem we've got at the moment is a massive disconnect of SEO. So most people think SEO is a bit of a spammy industry
Yeah.
still. It's still got a very bad reputation.
Yeah.
It's getting better, but most people have gone to paid search, and we've had an overwhelmingly desire of the last 13 years, longer probably, for everyone to go to PPC because it gives instant sales. But that's not organic search, that's paid search.
Yeah.
And if you don't, and that's a bidding war against you and the competitors.
Yeah.
The ones with the most money really win, and we know that.
Yeah.
It has to be always on. It reaches a saturation point. Whereas organic search is different. Organic search is a channel that can be to be entered in a couple of ways. It can be entered in terms of those high purchase intent keywords or physical availability keywords, as I like to call them. And we've got the idea that you can access people through informational content, and you can reach people who aren't in the market to buy or are considering buying into the category or the sector that you operate in. You can reach them, you can get them to like you can get them to engage with you can develop trust, which is a big thing that most people ignore. What SEO does as an organic channel, organic content helps to increase trust. And what that does is then hopefully increases the likelihood they'll buy, reduces cost per lead, reduces dependence on paid ads, increases sales navigationally, gets people on email lists. There's a trillion benefits of SEO. And as practitioners, we do a fairly awful job of articulating that to consumers and to service managers. And as a result, SEO is either seen as free ads, which that's one element of it, I suppose, but we're not advertising, and neither is PPC. We are, we're a channel. And I think we do such a bad job of articulating what we do because as an industry, we're still a bit confused about what we do
Yeah.
as well. So some people will say it's this, and some people will say it's that, and then you'll have an argument. Stick 7 SEOs in a room, and you'll have seven different opinions about what
Yeah.
SEO is. I'm less inclined to worry about what SEO is, more about what SEO does.
Yeah.
And I think, and until we actually say what SEO does and how it does it, and we pin that to the mast and say, hey, this is SEO, this is what it does, this is how it does it, and this is how you invest in it to get that access. If you invest in SEO, you will win. If you invest the right amount with the right people
Yeah.
and the right agency, you will win because you will activate new buyers at levels you probably haven't considered before.
That's a really, really good explanation of what SEO is all about. I really like the classic approach to SEO, like classic marketing, like talking about touch points, because I think organic search is the most amazing channel to like build touch points, and through touch points build trust. So that's what. So I started this YouTube channel in 2016, and the way I always think about marketing is, if I build like my own content marketing ecosystem where it's all about like being super insanely helpful and like generating, like having video, having imagery, having normal text content and so on, and like generating all, because the way it worked for us was we had like the website, and then we had the videos, but all this playing together generates like insane results. Like, for example, we just found out in the last 6 months that a lot of like I don't know the English word, it's not a university, but it's a university like for specific, with more a job focus, I don't know the word, doesn't matter, but that they use our content to teach people SEO skills. And that's something you can do with really good content marketing. And I always have like a hard time splitting content marketing and SEO, because it's really hard to split. Whereas like, where can I say this is now content marketing, this SEO, and it's
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I describe it as, if I'm honest with you. So I didn't make this one up. I kind of stole this one from a girl called, I think she's called Sarah Winters, if I remember.
Okay.
And another good book, by the way, is Content Design. That's a great book, by the way, in terms of it's weirdly written, but it's really good. It's a really good read, and it talks about a lot of the concepts that I talk about. And so the way I describe content marketing, I think all content is marketing. This is marketing. Your blog is marketing. So every bit of marketing really is content. But and I understand that's a criticism, I think, that of some marketing professors. Well, all marketing is content. So the way I get that, so the way I describe it to most is that the way we think of content marketing is content we send out to people. And the way we think of SEO is content that gets people off search engines. So I call it push and pull content.
Yeah.
So push content is content that we push out towards our ideal audience. Now, if I'm honest with you, it involves you actually sending it to people. Usually, is the case. A bit of outreach. Whereas pull content is content that pulls people from search engines. So you're pulling the user off a search engine into your website. You're leveraging the code of search engines like YouTube for this, and using the internet, Google and various search engines, Bing. So you're pulling people off. Whereas if you actually get a piece of content you send out to people, which is really valid, by the way, in terms of, and you can use Google Discovery and Google News as well. There are elements of push content. You can use social media to pay to get out there, and organic social media. You can use forums to push it out to people.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ways to promote and push an email. But push content is how I describe content marketing, and pull content is more organic SEO, where you're leveraging search engines. And both are very valid techniques, work hand in hand together. I think with AI becoming a default for a lot of people now in a very short period of time, I think push content, the content that's originally written by humans for humans, that is actually content that people didn't know they needed in their lives.
Yeah.
That is of a huge importance moving forward. So all the writers which are crying in the cups of tea over the AI content revolution, don't worry, you're going to be in more demand than ever if you're good at writing.
Yeah.
And if you've got skill and you can send content out and you can market people, you won't probably have the same reach unless you're very lucky. Because there'll be so many people doing it, but you'll be able to, if you're good, you'll send it out there, send it into the ecosphere, push it and promote it, and people will look at it. And if it changes them internally, if they read it and feel closer or changed, that's as close as we get to art in our industry, because a change has happened internally. And there's going to be so much demand for that content. Whereas I think on the other side of things, SEO, from a content pull perspective, it will get saturated fairly quickly. But I think that saturation will stop as Google and other search engines demand more from so it cannot just be push button SEO content with an AI tool. So I think there's going to be huge scope with push content. I think pull content is SEO content. It's going to grow. It's going to explode in terms of the amount of articles and words and things like that. And then Google's going to become so good, it's going to be able to know that I'm sorry, that's all AI. We don't want that. We want human integrated AI. I predict that there will be a score in the future that indicates how much content was written by a human, written by AI, and there'll be mechanisms to detect it.
We talked about that in one of the last episodes. Cool. We on this channel we had a lot of episodes on AI, and I don't know if you know the Animals blog, like Animals.
I love it. Yeah.
It's like the best content marketing blog there is. And they were talking about like the content cyborg and so on, and they have this like approach of the content value curve and so on. And what I think is really interesting, and what Google and other search engines will do, and one of the last episodes was about that, was like something like information gain score. Because the way I see AI right now is there will be like topics where AI can work really well, and I know that from our clients there are tons and tons of very complex products, B2B stuff and so on. AI will be horrible at helping those businesses generate content. And I think they will like introduce something, they have a patent for it, information gain score, where they will split, hey, does this content have like unique information compared to this? And also maybe, I never know how much personalization Google actually really wants, is then saying, hey, this person has read these articles, and this article is like a good addition to those two other articles. And it's something, I think that's not only good SEO content marketing, but I also think that's really, really good brand marketing. Having like this, being uniquely helpful is the way to go from here in a world where everybody can generate content, whatever they like.
100% agree. I mean, I saw a case study the other day. Someone put out like 7,000 articles.
Yeah, I read that too. But I don't believe in that kind of approach, because good luck updating that stuff and keeping that clean for a brand.
And if I'm honest with you, the content was awful. I mean,
yeah, it was horrible. I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's an example of the exact. I mean, obviously, I know the SEO who did that, and that for me is an example of what not to do.
Yeah, the dark approach, because that's something that's also a part of SEO. There's always like those outliers, that darkness to SEO, which is amazing, and they bring so many amazing ideas to SEO, which you can use like in a good and healthy way.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, for me, is if you're scaling a site, and I understand the reasons, because they've got an AI tool that they're putting out for content, and it's an advert for the AI tool, but that's going to be a spectacular failure of a case study if it doesn't work, because it doesn't matter which way you look at it. You create 7,000 pages to rank, and that still has cost to it. there's still a cost to that.
Yeah.
And if those pages all tank, great. If those pages don't convert, I mean, I'm a big believer pages don't convert, brands convert. But if I'm honest with you, it didn't. There was nothing in the content that made me think, oh, that's a brand and that's speaking to me. It was all robotic.
Yeah.
And that's fine to say that you can rank and you can use this and it works and it ranks and generates traffic. But a brand needs to generate trust. And that's the facility. It's not all about traffic. If it was about traffic, just go pay on. If it's about cheaper traffic, there's a million ways to get cheaper traffic. There's always been ways to go and buy thousands of links at scale. If you commoditize SEO by saying, oh, just spend, I don't know, £15,000 and you can have 7,000 pages. Well, and you can upload automatically and things like that. Great. But then what happens when content decay happens?
Yeah.
How are you going to have the staff to be able to go in and update those pages automatically? It doesn't work. What about adding uniqueness? You're going to have to, or about quotes from experts for each page. I think you can use AI and AI content can help SEOs, but there's a point where there's a diminishing return and even loss. Because if you can, for example, I kind of think if you've got, I think kind of 20, 30 articles is the limit, really, in terms of what you can put out in a month, have it checked, unless you have a big team, like a publishing team. I think for most, pardon me, I think for most people, 20 to 30 articles a month is fine.
But it's really hard. So if I think about we have 25% of our clients are in the billion euro range. And if I think about, they have their own marketing teams, but it's super hard for them to I think 30 really is a limit where it becomes almost impossible because they have these hierarchies and they have these brand rules and they have this it has to be show expert status and so on and so on. And they have all these rules and it's almost I see those case studies and I'm like, hey, that's really cool idea if I'm I have this small company, and this is my chance to kind of get the ball rolling. But if I think about the companies we mostly work with, they would say, hey, Alex, that sounds really cool. We're gonna look at other representation. And so they have other standards, and that's why I think we can do a lot with AI and save a lot of time and make things more effective and generate more volume, which is insanely important. And I really love the way you promote more volume on LinkedIn, because I think that too. I think one of the largest topics we have to talk about in the SEO is if you don't generate enough volume, SEO is super pointless. You will never generate any results, no growth, no nothing.
Small budget syndrome. And that's the truth, isn't it?
I mean, I like that word.
Small budget syndrome. Cool. Well, I think the problem you've got is twofold in terms of there's a human scale issue that you can't just produce AI content. Well, you can. You can click a button to AI content at mass on behind a spreadsheet, do the meta descriptions, put a content out, have a very quick skim of it. I mean, even if we look at reading time of 7,000 articles, 5 minutes per article, I mean, even that's a chore. So what ends up happening is you've got fact checking to do, editing to do. I mean, fact checking is a big thing. Because if AI tunes it out, you've got to have someone fact check it. So I think there's a definite limit in terms of, I think 20 to 30 articles is the limit unless you've got a huge publishing business in terms of you've got lots of staff, fact checkers and things like that. And also you've got compliance industries and regulated industries where you can't just put anything out. So in truth, I think for AI, for some people, they'll throw out anything and they're being caught that way. I dare say regulation will come in at some point to do with AI anyway. But I think there's a problem. There's twofold we've got a problem of. One is that people go to agencies expecting to have results, and that's what they pay for. And if you don't deliver those results at the end of the retainer, lots of people say, well, Google's algorithm, this kind of stuff, that kind of stuff. But the reality is, you took a client on, took the money, and the results didn't happen. No, we've all had issues where the budget's not been too small, and sorry, the budget's not great. We take them on because you try to do the best
Yeah,
for them. And what tends to happen is, over a long enough timeline, eventually they get
yeah,
enough results. But at which point they could have had them all in 12 months if
yeah,
they put all that money into the first 12 months. It's just spread over 10 years. I've been doing
exactly.
SEO for 10 years. So, and that's just not, it's just not the game to be in. And a lot of businesses don't achieve results because of the budget hasn't reached that tipping point where it's enough. Now, the flip side is there's agencies that take small budgets and don't do much for, and for various reasons, because running an agency is expensive. You've got staff costs, software, all those kind of things. There is a limit to it. But if we're really honest, the reason why we can't access budgets has got nothing to do with the money not being there. It's to do with the company not believing in SEO as a channel.
Okay, that's exactly the way I see it. So that's why I love your book, because it helped us, like on every level in our company, to explain the value of SEO better, because that's what it's about. How do I explain SEO to a CMO? How do I explain SEO to a CEO, and so on, different levels, and they have like different things they want, different KPIs they are measured by, different goals they want to reach in the company. And if you get better in that, you get bigger budgets. Because like, I think in the UK it's exactly the same, and I think in the US it's also the same. I don't even call them competitors, but there are other SEO agencies that have like they offer SEO from like 500 euros a month, which is fine if you have like a local, like a lawyer you want to rank in a smaller city. That's easy peasy, and that's enough as a budget. But if you like do something significant on a national level, you can't do anything with that budget, and it's better to save that money and then either go on a vacation, or wait until you're ready to go all in. Or all in sounds crazy, but have like enough budget to do something significant. And that's something we think a lot about and talk a lot about with our clients is, hey, we will do like the analysis stuff and so on. And at that point, we will tell you, this is the budget we need. And if you want to reach results, this is what we need. And otherwise, it's fine. We can wait, but we're not going to take you on. And that really helped us build a lot of trust with our clients. So we will just tell them, hey, you should wait, or we can work on this small thing here. But if you like really want, I also always like to think in output metrics and input metrics. So if you want this output, then you have to deliver. So we need this input for this output. And obviously in SEO, and you know that obviously it's really hard to say, if I want to this output, I need exactly this input. But it's not that hard. Oftentimes you know which page you need to know the number of pages, you pretty much know the domain rating you need. So it's not completely a black box. Some things are algorithmic and not foreseeable, but most things actually are pretty foreseeable. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Listen, SEO isn't rocket science.
Yeah.
And I think we'll know as an SEO that the brands ranking one and getting tons of traffic are doing fine.
Yeah.
If you're ranking for high cost per click keywords, you're generally going to be financially okay. We know that. I've seen it, in my own business and my own websites and stuff, and on clients, and everyone wants more. There's always more, and that's
Yes.
what. There's more channels, and you can get better, and you can scale to infinity, but yeah, there's equally though there's a problem we've got in terms of volume, in terms of activity, because it's not a cost thing. So we think in terms of budget. So someone only wants to spend $500. Well, I know when I was doing SEO for £500, £200, I gave so much away. It wasn't profitable because it was me doing it in my time for clients, and you hustle, and then you get another client, you have to charge more because and you reach capacity. And then you end up with the problem with the other end of things, where agencies can charge so much and deliver so little because the profit margins are so high. So the clients still don't get any results, yet they're paying a fortune. I've seen it both ways. So I think there is that element in terms of any good SEO will be able to look at a website and say what it needs doing to work. And the job isn't really, in terms of, how should I put this? The job with organic isn't about what needs doing. We all kind of know, a good SEO knows what needs doing. Some will argue about technical and content and things like that, and links. But aside from that, if you can have technical content and links, and you can have it all, and the problem isn't really what needs doing, it's budget. And that's the big problem we've got as an industry. When we see so many spending on ads, and pardon me, the budget could be 90% in favor of paid ads. And the metrics don't make sense, by the way. So if you're paying on ads and you're achieving a ROAS of 6 to 8, you're spending, what is it, £7 for every £1 and things like that. So you get that. Well, that's pure profit. To an actual fact, you've paid for your own PPC because it's paid for itself, because that's on ad spend, profit on ad spend. So you've got profit there. You can take it back and put it into your SEO and still have a ton of profit. That's the reality of the business. But what's happening is from an economist and accountant's point of view, there's your profit. You've made the money, and that's profit. If you were to take money out of that from SEO and it doesn't produce a profit immediately because it's a brand marketing tactic, if it doesn't do that, then what happens is they see that as you're taking away the profit and not gaining any gain, and it doesn't look great. Where's our return? So everyone talks about return on investment. And Gary Vaynerchuk, love him or hate him, I think, what was the return on investment of my mother, he turned around and said to somebody, because there's so much we do in life where there is no immediate or foreseeable return on investment. So the way I describe organic marketing, it's a rationally optimistic form of marketing. And that's what you're doing. It's logical, it's optimistic, it's actually fairly predictable to a degree, but you still need the right budgets to activate organic. And if you don't have that right budget, it doesn't matter who's doing your SEO, it won't work, because you'll never reach the capacity that's needed. And our biggest battle is the fact that more people spend more money on most businesses spend more money on their Christmas party than they do on their SEO. And then we wonder why, and they wonder why they get further behind. I love the fact that Hrefs and SEMrush have got this organic competitor search map now with the circles, and what you can do, you can see how far the competitors are ahead. You can see it as visually as it gets. And you can say to people, look, they're increasing market share rapidly. And because they're gaining more market share and you're losing market share, what's happening is there's less customers for you to activate. And the thing is with SEO as well, is that, all marketing is about that nudge. It's about nudging someone to buy today that might not have purchased. And if you can increase it from a 1 in 300 chance to a 2 in 300 chance that they buy from you, you will double your sales. So we're not actually talking about much. We're talking, if you can nudge 2 buyers today, whereas yesterday it was only 1, you will double your sales over the year. And that's the reality. Is people are trying to say, well, okay, well, how will it work? SEO could double your sales. Now, having that conversation with somebody, really, could it double my sales? SEO could double your sales. What would double the sales mean for your business? Oh, well,
and it's oftentimes with the right budget, it's like super easy, even for like. So we have like a client that's top 3 in Europe in terms of like revenue, yearly revenue, and we're like they're all like, SEO is like we try it out in one department, and it was so easy for us. Like within 6 months, we increased their sales for that specific product 6 times, which was not crazy hard to do, but we had the right budget, we knew what to do, they were committed to it, and then it's really easy. And I think that's a conversation we really need to have. And also to bring another example, which is rather shocking, because he said 90% paid, 10% SEO. We have a client where it was like, that's how they spent their money. And then they did an internal analysis how, and SEO was bringing like 80% of the revenue. And it was, that's, I think there are a lot of companies that are exactly like that, because people don't understand it's a bidding war. And with things increasing right now, it's kind of cool. So I recommend everybody like do paid now, because everybody's getting out of paid because they are saving money to survive the situation. And now spending paid now is amazing. You get like these cheap clicks and it's really cool. But otherwise, if everybody has like enough liquidity, the return on investment in reality is not that good, if you're honest.
Yeah, and I think there's first of all, ROAS is return on ad spend, not profit on ad spend.
Yep.
And we've had it before now with prospects and clients, and they'll say when they work out their costs, in actual fact, is the PPC is activating things that actually would eventually take into consideration packing or whatever it is that you've got to do, and customer service. In actual fact, it isn't as profitable as you think, and some even negative, and they figure that lesson out. And it's the attribution of last click gets the credit. That's another problem. I'm a big believer in PPC. I have got no problem people spending PPC, but I think what we should do is appropriately weight PPC in terms of, hey, listen, PPC will bring you money and bring you sales. It might not be profitable, but it will bring you sales.
Yeah.
And at that point, you have to decide whether it's profitable or not. Organic search, what it will do is it will put you in front of your prospect audience. It also might not generate you sales, in terms of what it will generate you sales, but it might not be profitable. That's a business model issue.
Yeah.
If you've got a terrible product or a terrible service, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No amount of traffic is going to solve that. If the offer isn't there, if your value proposition is all wrong, then your offer isn't there. And value proposition testing is, people don't even know that's a thing.
Yeah.
So, and price optimization.
Yeah.
People don't even know. If I say to someone, if you're going to make more money, go and hire a price optimizer, hire a pricing consultant. They will come around and tell you exactly what you need to charge, and you'll charge it, and you'll probably make more money. But then you'll have to have the marketing to reach people that new price. So
it's also something in with what SEO agencies oftentimes completely miss, and like a lot of companies. Pricing and marketing, you can all test it and it goes together. Like you can be like the most expensive whatever and still be like the main player in that niche, because people, I always like to think about prices. People will pay what they how they value it. So sometimes they value, or oftentimes they value something more if it's more expensive, and if your marketing fits that storyline, then they will be happy to pay 50% more, although the product is pretty much the same.
Yeah, and I think, what is the saying goes, price is a number, cost is a feeling, or something like that. I think you've there's so much pricing and behavioral psychology and how pricing works is a fascinating field.
Yeah.
And again, to be honest with you, that's another reason why SEOs shouldn't get too focused on ROI, because there are lots of things a business can do to increase conversion, to make more money, to make more profit, of which we have absolutely no control over.
Yeah.
What we can do is use a scientific approach to SEO, in terms of we can rank a website for all the keywords that people spend money on to get ranked for, the buyer terms, the physical availability, and we can become a publisher. We can become like a library, providing helpful information to reach people either thinking about buying, or people who even aren't in that market yet, where we can help them to achieve success in whatever field that's similar to what we sell. If we're HR software, providing HR information to managers and staff is a useful thing. And if I'm honest with you, the byproduct is you have a chance as them being on site, recognizing. So when they are in the market, the HR software, and they say, "Oh, look, I see them, I remember them," and they're signed up to your newsletter, and you've convinced them over a long enough period of time of how good your software is. So SEO is organic, as I like to call it more often, is an incredibly powerful channel. It's just that we do a ridiculously poor job of articulating its value. And as a result, it's easy for CMOs to say no to us. It's easy
Super
for
easy.
business owners. It's easy for business owners to say no. So what we did as an industry was we went to the refuge of the poor marketer, which is price.
Yeah.
So we dropped our prices to $500 a month, to £200 a month, because we felt that that's the only way they would hire us.
Yeah.
If we were so cheap that they would forget about us. And this is the problem that the industry faces, and sort of where I'm on a mission to do is to say, let's have grown-up adult marketing conversations about where organic search fits into this huge spectrum, and do you want it for your business? There's occasions where organic search might not be the right way.
Yeah.
It might not be the best way. But what isn't the best way is just relying on PPC ads and thinking you're going to be around in 10 years' time, because you won't. And if you are, it's probably because nobody's come in there and challenged you with a big enough budget yet. And also the fact that you might end up with a reduced market share, your costs increase, labor increases, ad costs increase, reducing your profit margins. At a certain point, is you have to put your prices up to recoup your ad costs.
Yeah.
And then the customers will be a break point where customers won't buy, because you haven't got the marketing or brand that makes them buy at that higher price. So there's the attitude of businesses that think, oh, I can just spend on PPC. If you're in that attitude and that mind frame, that's your only marketing goal and the rest is tiny, then realistically, it's hard to imagine you being around in 5 to 10 years' time as a business, either being just dissolving and collapsing as we see so often in the current climate.
Yeah.
Now, the saying is the best time to invest in organic or SEO was last
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago it was. And the next best time is today. And I think that is the best thing we can say. I'm a big believer, though, is that we should be in the process of pitching to people, hey, we want to build websites that matter to the people that you seek to serve. So whatever industry, we want to build a website that matters. And that is the big SEO idea in terms of we want to build something
valuable, like helpful, honest. So that's what this channel is all about. And people sometimes get annoyed with me because I have like a very brandy and helpful approach to SEO and less like a tactical approach, because I come from like the old school affiliate marketing, and I know that business model pretty much died in 2012, 2013. And you can still, I have friends that make still a lot of money with affiliate marketing, but
it'll die. It's dying. It's gonna die.
If you have like a strong, like the affiliate projects I know that are successful right now, they actually have a brand. Like they do helpful stuff. The old school affiliate marketing where you did nothing, you were a good SEO and a good spammer, and then you made all the money, that's done. And it's really important to think about not only in terms of affiliate marketing, the same is for a business. If you don't build a brand, the thing I loved what you said was, because that's the way I see it too, conversion optimization, like A/B testing and so on, that's really cool. But I think still the most important conversion optimization you can do in your life is building a brand people love, because then you're like, I hate the Apple website. The Apple website is, I think the usability is crap, but the products are so cool and the brand is so cool that people still buy that stuff. And that's what you should be aiming for. And yeah, super.
Well, the thing is, brands, and we've talked about brands. You know, I'm like you, a big advocate of a brand. And if you're a brand that wants to be useful for people, that character trait should resonate with your website, and it shouldn't have necessarily be an ROI thing. It's a case we want to be involved in people's lives, and people come to us. Now, there's a fantastic author called Nir Eyal. If you've never heard of his book, highly recommend you read Hooked by Nir Eyal, and his blog is amazing. So, and Nir, I got the lucky chance to interview him. We had an hour interview, and it was phenomenal, over where we broke down Peloton and some other things for clients and looked at the behavioral science. Now, Nir's model is called Hooked, and it's about creating habit-forming websites and habit-forming products. And as a brand, you want to create a habit-forming website. You want to be as useful as you can, because people will come back to you time and time and time again of their own accord. For whenever they receive an internal or external trigger, they'll head to you, they'll see you, they'll trust you. Now, that's why I think we need to be going with CMOs and marketing managers, business owners, and say, hey, listen, we want to build you and create you the best content that's going to make your website really cool for the people you want to serve. And that's what our objective is. At the moment, we're still chucking there, well, how does that make me money? How does that make me money? Yeah, okay, we can justify that.
Yeah.
We'll break it down and say, hey, we're going to go after these keywords and you're bidding on them, and so your competitors. We're going to go after this informational traffic because that makes sense. But really, we want to be, and that's useful. Those are the tangibles of usefulness. But in actual fact, is the main thing, the big idea is we create a habit-forming website so consumers think of you when they think of what you offer. And then what they have is what they call category entry points, when they have this better relationship with your business and they think of you when a circumstance arises which they need to buy your product or service. Now, it isn't necessarily, how would you do SEO for Coca-Cola? It's not necessarily that every business needs SEO.
Yeah.
It's a case of that, there's those big businesses can well and truly rely on TV advertising and other marketing. But for a lot of businesses, and for certainly the vast majority of them, organic search does represent a channel. And just have a quick swig of water. So Cadbury's is a classic example. I don't know if Cadbury's operates in your country, but Cadbury's chocolate.
Yeah. I know them. Yeah.
So Cadbury's and a few other brands are doing similar things, by the way. What they're doing is they're creating ways to use organic search that is innovative. So they created the Easter egg hunt, mass digital Easter egg hunt, where you could go online and hunt for eggs. I actually don't know how it works, so I didn't go on it, but they did this and they sent TV advertisements to that to tell people to go and search for it. It was a whole website set up, and they've been using it every year. The sales data shows that actually massively increased sales for them. So
how cool is that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the organic now this is why SEO is a really terrible phrase, is that organic doesn't just have to be that. We can be creative with search.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we're going as a brand. We're heading, we don't have to worry about just optimizing for what searches are there. We can think about how can we create something that's searched for that leverages TV ads, that radio ads.
You can do so much cool stuff in this direction. So a few years ago, I figured out that it's really smart to do something like this. So if you watch this interview, I don't know if you like watching yourself, but if you watch it, there will be at some point, there will be like this small thing adsies here. And there will be like, hey, if you want to know more about this, Google Evergreen Media keyword. And a few years ago, I discovered that if I start doing creating these brand searches, I can influence how Google associates the brand with that entity. So what we discovered over the years was firstly that, and also if I create a YouTube video on a specific topic, also the page that we have on our website will start ranking better for that. And there's so much crazy stuff you can do with organic, but I didn't know the chocolate one. I'm gonna check that out because that sounds really interesting. There was a German company that did the same thing. They had this TV advertisement and they had this it was something in tourism, and they did this association with Google that people should search for that, and that's how they ranked really fast for their main keywords. And SEO is the coolest thing. Everybody who sticks to it, it's no wonder. It's amazing.
I just pre-warn you, I've only got this office for another 5 minutes. I do apologize. I don't know if anyone's booked in it after that.
We totally the notes were. We haven't talked about any of the notes, but
it's okay.
It was totally amazing. I want to do one last part, and then we will totally make it from a time perspective. So you told us you started your marketing career at 36. For me, you're one of the coolest influencers in our niche. What books and other resources can you recommend to the audience to improve the right skills fast?
Okay, so anything from how brands grow too. I honestly mean those, and all of the Aaron Berg Bass books that I'm sure you can list in the channel. Alchemy by Rory Sutherland is the gospel of behavioral science. It's just fantastic. Hooked by Nir Eyal, I mentioned.
And
that
now
earlier.
I understood. Yeah, Hooked. I recommend it all the time on the channel.
Yeah, fantastic. So those are some books. There's a lot more. I think if you can spend some time to go and listen to podcasts that Byron Sharp does, and also podcasts that Mark Ritson does, and articles by Mark Ritson, another marketing professor, you will be light years ahead of the competition. From an SEO perspective, he gets so much grief, but you've got to look at Neil Patel. Now, and I'll tell you why Neil Patel, and I don't know Neil Patel very well in terms of we have spoken before, but, I was paid for his very expensive course one day, but you have to look at what Neil Patel does on a level of marketing. He's got tools, he's got software, he's out there producing content daily, he's out producing videos, TikToks. He occupies search.
Yeah.
Now, what I suggest people do is, I don't know why Neil Patel's got a bad rap in the SEO industry. I really don't.
Because most people like me don't think he knows a lot about SEO, but I think what you can learn from Neil Patel, he's an amazing marketer, and I would never say anything about that. I don't think he's an amazing SEO, but I think he's an ingenious businessman and marketer.
He was probably an amazing SEO many years ago, and then didn't need to be an amazing SEO for any case. But I think when you've got a website that has millions of visitors and you want to mail, then the actual data that you get from that allows him to have a unique viewpoint. You know, you're getting, if it was anybody else like Richard Branson or anyone else in his space, you'd be listening to what he has to say. And I think people should study the likes of Neil Patel and Brian Dean, people like that, because what they've done is they've built in public, and you can see what they've built and learn lessons. And the big takeaway, my final comment is what Neil Patel really does is build Neil Patel's world.
Yeah.
And he world builds from a marketing perspective. He's got tools that people need to use. He's got videos. He's got, his TikToks. He's got his LinkedIn videos. He's got his articles. And we know that he's not writing them all. We know that. That's, you couldn't do it. But he's got this well-oiled machine and one of the fastest growing agencies in the world, I believe now. And he's got a traffic machine that's going in there. Now, regardless of opinions about SEO ability, because I don't think he does any SEO, and I would be gobsmacked if he did. The reality of him is you can learn a lot from the world building out. So I say to people, go and read, go and study what he does, go and look at how he does it. There's a lot of lessons that you can apply from marketing. Another one I really love is Seth Godin. And the marketing.
This is Marketing is a classic.
Yeah, This is Marketing, and Seth Godin makes marketing in a very easy to understand sense. He doesn't like SEO, by the way. He thinks it's the
I know
salt mines. So but the way he's built his world with his books and his podcast and things like that, there's lots we can learn from other sectors. And I think those are probably some good books.
You forgot the most important thing. So I want to recommend again, everybody follow you on LinkedIn, because your insights are really amazing. And oftentimes I'm like, I actually know that, but I've never read anything. You explain things so well. And I think also like business owners and so on, they can all learn a lot of how you explain things. And also every CMO should read The Value of SEO. You can order it at Amazon or whatever you like, where they should order it. It will be in the links too. And
order the paperback. The Kindle version is rubbish for some reason.
Yeah, because I like to write notes in my books. I buy every book so I can take notes in it. It's
exactly here. I'm exactly the same. But thank you for your kind words, and really thanks for having me on the show. And I think we can all do a better job of SEO, and if we all get behind the industry and talk and have these kind of conversations that we're having now, it helps people. Every conversation you have like this about SEO will help you better articulate SEO's value. So and then we need to be having more of these conversations.
So Andrew, thanks that you took the time to have a chat with me, because I know you're really, really busy. You're like building an SEO agency in a larger agency. I wish you all the best. I hope you reach all your goals and so on. And I hope to talk to you again, maybe in a year or so. So when you have like new stories, new results, I would love to like repeat this.
I'm looking forward to it, in the definite.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. No worries. Bye-bye.
Bye.